Yeah, I think like if this whole experiment is going to succeed, if that spirit is still there about remaking the financial system and like repeating the revolutions of like the shipping container and the internet, and like if this is going to be that next revolution in financial systems and payments, then I think there has to be a variety of products and services. There has to be innovation. If you think Bitcoin is like the end of innovation, everybody in history who's thought that like something was the end of innovation, it's just a matter of time before like they're proven wrong. We don't drive a Model T, right? Like the Model T was the one that made it. It could have made people say cars are going to like be the new thing, but I don't drive a Model T. And we have tanker trucks that carry fuel, and we have sports cars, and we have trucks that carry goods around. Like they're specialized for particular applications, and I think it's kind of crazy to think that we're all going to be using the same system that is the first decentralized system ever made. I think that's unrealistic. I think there's going to have to be an ecosystem.
How did you get into the industry, and like how has the ledger kind of evolved over the past 7-8 years?
Wow. Yeah. It's hard to look back over that time period and think the way things change.
The good thing about this show is it's not like a specific show. This is like education and entertainment at the same time. So no one holds anyone to like things. It's, I say a lot of stupid shit, but I think the reason a lot of people like this show is because it allows everyone to attach faces, voices, and names to the projects that they're involved in and they love and they really like to hear, for better or for worse. And so yeah, this is actually today, the day we're recording, I'm celebrating my 100th episode. Today's episode 100 day.
Cool.
Silly enough. I'm very excited about that.
Super cool. So I'll tell you what originally attracted me to Bitcoin was the philosophical angle. This idea of money as a tool of sort of repression and control and doing something about that. And I saw parallels to the internet and the use of information as a tool of repression and control. At one time, people in North Korea thought that Kim Jong-il was like a respected intellectual in the West and a snappy dresser, and like because they could hear. Yeah, because all they could hear is what North Korean state media was telling them. And I think one of the things that brought down the Berlin Wall was this idea that people in East Berlin wanted CD players and blue jeans and all the cool things that people in West Berlin had, because West Berlin was trading with the Western world and East Berlin wasn't. I think information has been a powerful tool of liberation. And I think the internet, in the way it's democratized information, it has gone back on that a little bit recently, but I think there was a time when it drastically democratized information, and that was a tool of liberation. And I think control of money is a tool of control as well. Like if the government can control how you spend your money, and they can inflate the currency to start wars, and they have these tools, they can tell when you go to a bookstore, and then they can go to the bookstore and try to figure out what books you buy. Like controlling people's movement of money is a tool of oppressive control for oppressive regimes.
Money.
Exactly. And I think the internet weakened their control over information, and money seemed like the next thing. And if you've read, I wrote a series of articles about the war on cash, talking about how governments, even in the Western world, use their ability to control money as a powerful tool of control. And the important thing is that they do it in ways that prevent people from like having due process rights. So for
my man,
you know where I'm going with this.
Example, like, if all of a sudden the IRS says you owe $50,000 in taxes, your passport's gone. Boom, you can't leave the country.
Yeah, and
or anything in that.
Yeah, and if a Middle Eastern government declares you a terrorist because you spoke out against them, you suddenly can't open a bank account like anywhere in the United States. Yeah. And this is the important thing. If the government wants to punish you for being a terrorist, they have to like try you for some sort of crime, or they have to like file a civil lawsuit against you, and you get to confront witnesses and you get to hear the charges against you. But if every bank refuses to do business with you because of legal risk, there's no appeal process. There's no way that you can like do anything about that. And if you can't open a bank account, I mean, there's stores that are cash only. Like there's places where you can't get a cup of coffee without a bank account. And that was what motivated me. I'm very sympathetic to regulators' legitimate concerns with things like, radicalizing terrorists and financing terrorism.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's session. This is the Zen God, and it's Sunday morning here in Las Vegas. I'm really excited to go down this cool episode that I thought about for you guys. So we're going to do a deep dive into David Schwartz. He is the CTO of Ripple. He helped create and found the XRP ledger. He actually helped build Bitcoin too originally. He has credits towards helping build the Bitcoin network as well. So we'll go down, watch some cool videos about him, learn a little bit more about who he is. And so we just watched a cool video where he was kind of giving his philosophy on what motivated him to join. And I wanted to show you one more thing. A lot of people don't know that David Schwartz is actually banned. He has a lifetime ban from PayPal. So I had to get someone else to pay my tour guide for me today, and I had to pay them back in cash. They only take PayPal, and I have a lifetime ban. This is perfectly symbolizes what has motivated me for the past 8 years. So he has a very libertarian viewpoint on how he views like the world and also how he views money. So that's part of the reason why XRP, you can't censor XRP because he was censored once. Here's one more clip. I'm going to show you guys this video. Ripple, David Schwartz building the payment system of the future.
Tell us about Internet of Value. What's your vision for this? How does it work?
Well, I think a lot of people found Bitcoin interesting because they were frustrated with the siloing of money and liquidity. This idea that there are all these different payment systems that don't talk to each other. You can look at a website from a company in South Africa, let's say, but it's very difficult to send money to them, specifically small payments. And I think a lot of people who were inspired by Bitcoin in the early days kind of had this idea that, well, everybody would use Bitcoin and this problem would go away. Fast forward a couple of years and we built something like 1,500 plus brand new silos for value to be trapped into. So we solved a different problem than the problem we thought we were solving, and the problem that a lot of us were concerned about, this idea that people can't pay each other easily. We created a newer version of it with more silos. So the Internet of Value vision is to break down that siloing, to do for money what the internet did for information, to make it so that money can flow as easily as information does. I guess like the simplest vision would be the idea that you could pay somebody as easily as an email, that there could be some universal payment address and it wouldn't matter if they were using PayPal or a bank or Bitcoin or some mobile payment system in Africa. It would make no difference. The money would just find a path and flow. And I guess if you want to go into sort of like the longer term vision, just like the internet at first just enabled us to communicate with each other, but over time, it's how we turn our light switches on. It's how my car tells me when it's done charging. I mean, it's just changed everything behind the scenes. I think over the next 10 years or so, we'll start to see these Internet of Value payments behind the scenes changing the world in ways that are not so obvious, but make life better for people.
Can you give us any examples of these microtransactions that could make people's life easier and would bring them together and the payment processes smoother? And
it's hard to. It's like if we were talking about the internet in the mid-90s or something and trying to think about like what it would do, and all of the things that I would say that are part of our everyday lives today would seem so far-fetched to you. Like if I said that teenagers around the world will, talk about when they're going to get groceries or what new dress they bought. It doesn't sound like it's world-changing, but that improved connectivity overall is world-changing. It brings everybody closer together. And I think we'll start to see similar things. I can think of bad examples. Like one of them that just is incredibly practical is this idea that my phone can buy Wi-Fi access wherever I go. I mean, that just makes perfect sense. But is that going to change the world? No. I think we've started to see things like ships turning around in the middle of the ocean because the price of their goods have changed or the demand has changed. So I think we'll see more of an on-demand economy. The long-term vision is that everything can pay everything else. Machines can pay each other. If you look at how machines being able to exchange information with other machines changed our world, I think machines being able to pay other machines cheaply and quickly will change the world too. But it's very difficult to predict how that will happen. Like I can construct an example like you walk past a store and maybe that store pays you.
Okay, we just watched a really cool video from David Schwartz explaining how he's creating the future of payments, the Internet of Value. That's really cool. But let's take it even farther. Let's go really deep. Let's talk about the things that no one really wants to talk about. So David Schwartz, before he became a member of Ripple, he was actually a NSA agent. Here's a direct quote. The NDA I had to sign for the NSA had a list of things of theirs I promised to keep secret. Usually it's stuff like partners, business practices, trade secrets in their list was existence of. Yet my first day at Fort Meade, a crew was filming a documentary inside the NSA. Another funny story, I had lost contact with everyone I met or worked with at the NSA for several years until one day they all appeared as suggested friends on Facebook, David Schwartz. So David Schwartz used to work for the NSA. I'm going to show you one more video and I'm going to put everything together. So I'm going to connect all the dots. So now that you know he's with the NSA, I'm going to show you one quick video and we'll keep moving forward. So this guy right here is Roger Ver. He was a really big Bitcoin advocate in the early days. He's now like not so much a fan of Bitcoin. He's now on the Bitcoin Cash movement, but he also funded and invested, like pretty much an angel investor. They used to call him Bitcoin Jesus because he used to invest in tons and tons of startups. One of the projects he invested in was Ripple. So we're going to get his take on the early days of Ripple, and he actually paid David Schwartz salary the first year.
At the time, it didn't even have a name. It was just called NewCoin. And in fact, the folder I created on my hard drive to keep track of all the what eventually became XRP and Ripple stuff was called NewCoin for a long, long time. And I think even our contract, our initial first contract there was just called NewCoin, was what we were referring to XRP and Ripple in that contract. But Jed definitely had the vision and was really, really good at connecting the right people to make things happen. So I actually paid the salary for Joel Katz is his screen name, and his real name always escapes me because I originally know him from the Bitcoin Talk forums in the early days. So,
David Schwartz.
David Schwartz. Thank you. So his screen name was Joel Katz on the Bitcoin Talk forums, and I remember. For anybody, everybody in XRP knows what he looks like now, but he looks like the stereotypical, computer nerd programmer is. He has long hair and not as much hair on top, and looks kind of like the stereotype mad scientist for crypto stuff. And I remember when I met him for the very first time, it was at the Bitcoin meetup in Silicon Valley there that I helped to get started. And he showed up in person and he said, "Oh, I'm Joel Katz from the forums." And my initial response, I think, was like, "That's your real photo on the forums," because up to that point, I thought it was just kind of like somebody went on Google image search and tried to find the stereotypical image of a cryptographer, crypto nerd image and use that for his profile. But it turned out it was his real profile. Yeah. And actually, when talking with him at some point through the whole birth of XRP and Ripple, it occurred to me. It just snapped one day. I said, "Wait a minute, I met you before." And so I had met David Schwartz in maybe the year 2000 at an artificial intelligence conference in Silicon Valley. And I had a really nice conversation with him. And after chatting with a little bit, it was real clear that he leans heavily libertarian. But at that time, he was working as a cryptographer for the NSA. And so I asked him, I said, well, if you're such a libertarian, why are you working at the NSA? That's kind of the opposite of what libertarians are supporting. And he got this twinkle in his eye, and he rubbed his hands together and he said, because they have me working on the most subversive things imaginable. Oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. And yeah, David is just an amazing guy with such an amazing mind and can just get so many different things done. And it's really been fantastic to watch the path that XRP has managed to become one of the top cryptocurrencies in the entire world out there. It's just been a fantastic guy at the helm there, who I know from the early days as well.
Awesome. So now that we have video proof and the quote that he was actually an NSA agent, he had NDAs with the NSA. That's no joke. A lot of the white hats come from the NSA as well. We know that. So he's been working with the NSA for years. And then we have this. This is going to blow you guys' mind. We're on down the rabbit hole. So there's a whole theory, there's a whole conspiracy that Joel Katz, who is David Schwartz, is actually Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm more in favor that David Schwartz, Arthur Brito is basically a ghost. You can't really find much about him anywhere. He's also an NSA agent. He's a physician, super smart guy. I think Satoshi is more than one person. I think it's a combination of Joel Katz, David Schwartz, Arthur Brito. Potentially even Jed Michaela might be a little bit involved as well. But in 1988, David secured a patent for DLT before the internet. So before the internet ever was invented, David Schwartz patented distributed ledger technology. So in 1998, we've shown this magazine before. This came out in 1988 to get ready for a world currency, the Phoenix. David Schwartz, a few months later, releases the patent for the distributed ledger, which is basically, this is way before Bitcoin was ever created. And that's there. So people go, that's why Bitcoin was created in 2008 as a prototype with many issues and no use case. So they made Bitcoin with flaws on purpose, a lot of people say. 2008, that's 20 years after David Schwartz originally put it in that patent. David Schwartz was NSA former employee. He created XRP in 2012 as a final product that is 1,000 times better with zero issues and many use cases. So we see the speed. Obviously, we know this. XRP is way faster than any crypto out there. Cost way less. Scalability, it could scale. So scale is really important in this. The use cases, it's a bridge currency, it's a store of value, it has way more use cases. And XRP is environmentally friendly compared to the other options. So this is a way better final product. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Could David Schwartz potentially be Satoshi? Or could he have made... See, a bunch of people talk about it. David Schwartz, NSA, signed this to keep this secret project. Yeah, so David Schwartz is definitely, I think, behind a lot of this stuff. Okay, so let's take it one step further. So we know that David Schwartz, they call themselves the plumber of the financial system, right? They're the plumbers. They're creating the new payment rails. And we know that Joel Katz, just like Satoshi, is a riddler. David Schwartz, we have enough evidence that he likes to throw riddles out there. He likes to get us thinking without like actually telling us. So here he is, 14 years old. He posted this picture. If you zoom in, this is David Schwartz right here in his Mario costume. What does Mario do? He goes into the plumbing system. And he has a few, actually. He has a few. Here's a video right here. It looks like a go-kart, Mario Kart. So here he is right here. So here's something else I found. Satoshi Nakamoto's book, Wave and Ripple, design book, Wave and Ripple. It's a wave. Satoshi Nakamoto. So there's clues everywhere. Do they connect? Is it all just a coincidence? Or are you the type of person that doesn't believe in coincidences? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I can just show you this information. And if it connects in your world, cool. If it doesn't, then cool too. I told you guys from the first video I made about a week and a half ago, and remember, this is a brand new channel. We've only been around for 2 weeks. I do everything live. I don't pre-plan what I'm going to say. I just kind of open up my mind and just speak freely. So I just go online, I turn my record button on, and I have a bunch of stuff up, and I just go through it with you guys live on the spot, nothing planned. So one last thing I want to show you guys. So here's the official patent. This is real. You could find it on the archives yourselves. David Schwartz, 1988. It shows the whole distributed ledger foundation. So this is all really, really cool stuff. David Schwartz is definitely a unique guy. They called him the $1 trillion man. So yeah, let me know what you guys' thoughts are. If you like today's video, if you enjoy the content I've been sharing, please like, subscribe, and continue supporting. We're building this channel. We have about almost 700 followers. Once we hit 1,000, I could do Q&As with you guys. I could do lives. I could do a lot more. So I look forward to building this channel with you guys. I'm going to leave you with this last video talking about the difference between payments and settlements. And see you guys tomorrow for another cool episode. Have a great day.
How many of you know the difference between payment and settlement? Not too many. So, a couple. All right. So let me just give you just a high level on this. I go to a restaurant and I pay with my Visa card.
Who's that?
A free TurboTax live tax expert.
Why do you need a tax expert?
His advice.
And they let me go and they don't call the police saying that I left without paying for my food. That's a payment. But I still have to pay my credit card bill, and somebody still has to wire money to the restaurant, right, or ACH or whatever payment system they use. The payment has not been settled. Traditionally, payment and settlement have been completely bifurcated into completely separate systems. SWIFT is a payment system that doesn't do anything with settlement. And the problem with that is it makes it hard to do a good payment because, like, you don't know if the recipient, you can't check the validity of the recipient. You don't know necessarily what the fees are going to be, what the exchange rate's going to be when the payment settles. So we built a system that, and the only reason they've been separated in institutional payments is historic. These systems date back from the old days when people had giant wheels of magnetic tape, and the tape was like on the bank's transaction computer during the day, and someone would physically carry it over to the settlement computer that talked to the other banks at night. And there was no way to settle during the day because the tape had to be on the computer that was handling the bank's transactions. It had to go to the settlement computer when it was done. I'm not joking. I'm serious. If you look at your glitzy like front end application for your bank, and it's all really cool, and you can access it on your phone, and it's all really, you know, it's 21st century, but you scratch just a couple of layers below the surface and it's like you took a time machine. If you're lucky, you're in the mid to late 70s. Like, that's when these systems that plumb the movement of money were built, and they are breaking down. Make no, even if blockchain completely fails, even if all cryptocurrencies are a bust, the payment world is going to change because it's terrible.